Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 159. Without any delay, start explanation. The Overlord dragon changed more than his soul ring and martial soul. There was currently a forceful surge of blood essence within Tang Wulin's body. It was so extreme that even without his control, the vigorous blood essence was already lashing against the fifth Golden Dragon King seal inside his body. Tang Wulin was fully conscious now. He desperately tried to calm his blood essence down, but the fifth seal had obviously loosened. There was no need to ask old Tang, as Tang Wulin could feel it himself. After the 49 days of tempering himself, along with large helpings of oceanic soul beast essence and meat, he could have broken the fifth seal any time he wanted. With the progression of his cultivation base to 4 rings, his overall strength had taken another leap forward. Especially noteworthy was the second awakening of his blue-silver grass martial soul. This was a magnificent development he had never expected. Until this moment, the strength of the Golden Dragon King bloodline had been his greatest weapon. Compared to that, his martial soul seemed much weaker. However, Tang Wulin could already feel the power after the new enhancement to his blue-silver grass, turning it into the blue-silver emperor. If he had to face the pack of Devil Soul great white sharks again, he was now confident of utterly smashing them to pieces. 4 rings meant that he had also risen to a rank 6 blacksmith as well, and it signified that he had attained the inner foundation to become a one-word battle armor master. The 10,000-year Overlord Dragon Spirit Soul meant that he did not need to look for another Spirit Soul even if he cultivated to 6 rings or 7 rings in the future. He had finally taken this step. It was not easy. It was said that cultivating one soul power becomes even more difficult after rank 40, but after taking this great step forward, his martial soul had evolved for a second time. At least his cultivation speed would not be any slower than his companions. He was only 15 years old now, so he had plenty of time. He moved his thoughts and the blue-silver grass vines waved silently. They floated on the surface of the ocean with their enlarged size and supported Tang Wulin's body. Teacher? Tang Wulin looked toward Mu Yi. Mu Yi said with relief, "You've finally completed the second awakening. How do you feel?" Tang Wulin smiled. "I feel amazing. I think this can be seen as my luck after all the hardships, right?" Mu Yi nodded. "For you, the toughest days are now over. Your upcoming training will be somewhat easier." Tang Wulin's expression stiffened slightly. "Teacher, you see, I've been at it for quite some time now. Shouldn't I be allowed to rest for a few days?" Mu Yi said in a deep voice, "Achievement is founded upon diligence and wasted upon recklessness. How can you rest now?" I'll let you rest tonight." As he said this, his body flashed and in an instant, he stood beside Tang Wulin. Then, he grabbed him and leaped into the air. The blue-silver grass, which flickered with a dark golden luster, shrank and returned to Tang Wulin's body. The two of them chased after the ship. Early the next morning, when Tang Wulin regained consciousness from his meditation, the sky was only beginning to light up. He rushed to the balcony and faced the east as he awaited the arrival of the violet dawn. It was certainly different. His martial soul had evolved from blue-silver grass to blue-silver emperor. The speed of his soul power's improvements had increased noticeably. Even if the ocean was not suitable for the cultivation of a plant system martial soul, Tang Wulin still felt that his progress sped up at least 3-fold. Was this what it felt like to have a powerful martial soul? He had spent 49 days pacing back and forth at the edge of life and death to stimulate his potential. Eventually, he awakened his blue-silver grass ultimate source of strength, and that felt awesome. He was genuinely grateful to Mu Yi. Without teacher Mu Yi, he would never have reached this level. After he finished training the purple demon eyes, the sun had already risen above the ocean's surface and it bathed the 2 great ships in its golden glow. By now, they had already covered 2/3 of the journey. They were getting increasingly closer to the Star Luo continent. These days, the official party frequently organized some exchange activities and got everyone involved. The members of the diplomatic corps from both sides also became more and more familiar with each other. He pushed his door open and was about to go knock on Gu's door to invite her for breakfast when the door of the room diagonally opposite his opened. Xu Xiaoyan walked out from within. When she saw Tang Wulin, she was momentarily stunned. "Captain, you." Tang Wulin smiled. "What's wrong, Xiaoyan? Why are you looking at me like that? Can't you recognize me anymore?" Xu Xiaoyan shook her head. "It's not that. It's just that you look different somehow. How did you take such good care of your skin? You seem to be glowing, and your aura. It's frightening me a little." Huh? Tang Wulin was slightly stunned. He instinctively retracted his aura. Only then did Xu Xiaoyan relax somewhat. "That's better." Tang Wulin scratched his head. "I had a breakthrough during my cultivation last night. I wasn't aware of my lack of control over my own aura. It won't happen again." Indeed, he had not noticed it himself. After reaching 4 rings and fusing with the Overlord Dragon Spirit Soul, his aura had also virtually become a mixture of the Overlord Dragon's ferocity and the Golden Dragon King's aura. Although the Overlord Dragon was certainly fierce, it displayed complete submission when faced with the Golden Dragon King. However, the Golden Dragon King's aura itself had also taken on a new ferociousness under the Overlord Dragon's influence. Tang Wulin himself could not feel anything, but Xu Xiaoyan noticed the change immediately. "Breakthrough? Captain, you're finally at rank 40 now." Xu Xiaoyan covered her mouth and giggled. Tang Wulin coughed somewhat awkwardly. "What do you mean, finally? Am I really that slow?" Xu Xiaoyan nodded immediately. She then let out a series of giggles which sounded like silver bells and ran away. They had their conversation outside. Tang Wulin had no need to knock. Gu's door was already opened. The others were also out of their rooms. Gu had heard them talking. She looked at Tang Wulin with shock. "You've broken through this quickly." Tang Wulin nodded. "I have to work hard to match you guys' pace." Yi Xinglan had also walked out at this moment and said, "I've been trying a few times over the past few days and I can't complete the final core component no matter what. I'm starting the process of crafting battle armor for all of you now. Captain, let's start with you. I've made a right rear brace and pauldron for you already. I want to finish at least one piece for you before I work on the others. Or should I craft a complete set for you first?" Tang Wulin thought about it and said, "Let's go with making one piece for each person. It's still useful for us to increase everyone's battle strengths and personal survival abilities. After all, we don't know what kind of situations we'll find ourselves in on the Star Luo continent." "Okay." Yi Xinglan did not say much. She merely nodded. At this moment, with a sudden, loud boom, the ship shook violently. Tang Wulin and the others hastily reached for something to hold onto for support in the corridor, and they managed to keep their balance. "What's the situation?" Tang Wulin asked with shock. Aside from Xu Xiaoyan who had run off earlier, all members from Shrek Academy's team were present. Everyone gathered together. "Let's go to my cabin first," shouted Tang Wulin in a deep voice as he pulled his own room door open. Brum! Another violent boom sounded, shaking the ocean liner once more. Tang Wulin held the door open to allow his companions to get into his room quickly. The cabin room was certainly safer than the corridor. That was because the room had a balcony, so they could make an exit at any moment. They had more options here. After everyone had gotten into his room, Tang Wulin quickly went to the balcony, grabbed the handrails and looked outward. When he stared at the scene before him, an expression of terror immediately showed on his face. The azure ocean had turned dark purple without anyone noticing. A giant water column dozens of meters wide shot forth from a faraway part of the ocean. It crashed violently into the activated soul barrier of the ship, creating ripples and rocking it violently. A purple ocean? What change had occurred here? Just then, a figure descended from the sky and landed on the balcony. It was the sect master of the body sect, Mu Yi. The others looked shocked when they saw Mu Yi. He said in a deep voice, "A powerful oceanic soul beast has come to attack us. All of you, stay here and don't move." These waters are very dangerous. Tang Wulin's heart was struck with fear. If teacher Mu Yi, who had a divine mecha and a cultivation base of rank 94, was this serious, the oceanic soul beast that they were facing this time was not an ordinary soul beast. Teacher, what is it? Tang Wulin's use of the term astonished the others, but this was obviously not a good time to inquire about it. Mu Yi knitted his brows tightly. Looks like a huge pack of devil soul great white sharks. A very huge pack of devil soul great white sharks. There's a kingly figure that's leading the pack with a cultivation base of 100,000 years. There are also other powerful oceanic soul beasts accompanying them. Tang Wulin's heart stirred. He turned to look toward Mu Yi. The edge of Mu Yi's lips twitched. He said nothing, but his expression had clearly told Tang Wulin that the arrival of these powerful oceanic soul beasts was related to the pack of devil soul great white sharks they had faced yesterday. A light flashed on Mu Yi's hands, and white ceramic jar appeared in one. Eat this. Tang Wulin opened it, and a salty, fishy smell was blown in their faces. Inside the jar was a golden-colored, grease-like substance. This was, Mu Yi said, fish oil from the 10,000-year devil soul great white shark's head. It's highly nourishing. Tang Wulin coughed. He thought inwardly, I can't believe teacher is still thinking about nourishment at a time like this, but I like it. He did not hold back. He raised his head and swallowed the deep-sea fish oil. In matters of its taste, it was nothing special. The smell of fish filled his nostrils. However, after it reached his throat, it immediately turned into a warm wave as it spread throughout his body. His brain was instantly clearer. It was a comforting feeling that he could not put into words. Mu Yi spoke to himself, I never thought that there would be such a pack of large and powerful soul beasts in the deep sea. They even look powerful and hardy. The one that shot water at us must be the deep-sea devil whale. Judging by the power of its attack, it must have a cultivation base of at least 100,000 years already. Deep-sea devil whale king and a devil soul great white shark king, this is an impressive lineup. Tang Wulin could almost be sure now that the oceanic soul beasts in front of their eyes were related to them. However, Mu Yi did not seem to be the least bit interested. He even seemed to take pleasure in their misfortune. At that moment, numerous figures leaped into the sky from the two ocean liners and flew swiftly through the air. 3 people flew out from the ship that Tang Wulin and the others were on, and another 2 persons flew out from the other ship. The 5 of them stood in mid-air. All of them gave off extremely strong auras. Among the 5 of them, the only person whom Tang Wulin recognized was none other than the Silver Moon Dolor, Elder Cai. At this moment, an ice-cold figure appeared in front of Tang Wulin's balcony. It was Wu Zhongkong. Wu Zhongkong had noticed Mu Yi immediately after he landed. His brows furrowed. Who are you? Mu Yi pointed at his own clothes. A chef. A cold gleam flashed across Wu Zhongkong's eyes. The icy aura immediately enveloped Mu Yi's body. Mu Yi smiled dryly. He did not release his aura. He let the icy coldness released by Wu Zhongkong cover him, but he acted as if nothing was happening. He was not affected in the least. Wu Zhongkong's gaze focused. Just when he was about to take another step forward to take action, Tang Wulin hastily said, Teacher Wu, please don't attack. He's my teacher as well. Wu Zhongkong was momentarily stunned. He landed on the balcony. The balcony was not that big to begin with, and now that everyone was there, it felt a bit cramped. He looked at Mu Yi, then at Tang Wulin. Where's Xu Xiaoyan? Tang Wulin said, she must have gone to have her breakfast. Wu Zhongkong said in a deep voice, go get her and come back here. Things don't look good. A large number of oceanic soul beasts have already surrounded our ship, and they are not short on experts. In the middle of this ocean, the amplification of their strength will be very powerful. I'll go. Yu Jingyu offered his services. He turned around and dashed out of the room. Just then, from far away on the sea, another giant water column was blasting toward their ship. In midair, a red-haired elder grunted coldly. His body flashed and appeared in front of the water column. His right hand struck out against air. A ball of powerful red light flashed and collided with the water column. The water column shattered. The red-haired elder grunted again and retreated with a flash. At the same time, a thought that struck fear into all of them came from the depths of the ocean. Humans, you've taken the liberty of passing over our domain and killed my kin. Surrender the murderer to me or else I'll let all of you bury yourselves here. This was not a voice. It was sent telepathically. However, even all the people within the ship's protective barrier could clearly hear what had been said. An enormous figure slowly floated out of the ocean's surface. Its silvery white back was like a small island. Its gigantic dorsal fin stood erect like the edge of a blade. It gave off a sharp chilliness. Not far away from it, another larger, dark purplish figure appeared. It looked to be at least hundreds of meters long. When the two of them appeared, a powerful aura burst forth immediately. From the ocean, more and more terrifying creatures started floating up to the surface. The bulk of those frightened beasts were devil-soul great white sharks and deep-sea devil whales. The combination of the two clans appeared to number in the thousands. A horrifying aura fell upon the ocean, and it was filled with oppression. Elder Cai said in a deep voice, "We're only passing through. We did not kill your clansmen. If you insist on not letting us pass, don't blame us for not being merciful. Do you think that with only 200,000-year-old beasts, you can stop us? Among us humans, we were never short of those that would want 100,000-year-old ring." After she said this, the aura of the Devil Soul Great White Shark King and the Deep-Sea Devil Whale King immediately become roused. The conflict between humans and soul beasts had long passed the point of reconciliation. The terrestrial soul beasts were virtually extinct. With the advancement of spirit pagoda's techniques in creating spirit souls, the habitats of the soul beasts were compressed even further. Oceanic soul beasts also rarely had the courage to go near the shore. Only the deep sea could be seen as something of a paradise for oceanic soul beasts. Shrek Academy has always been a supporter of peace between humans and soul beasts, but Elder Cai had a strong personality. When she was faced with a large number of soul beasts blocking her way, naturally, she would hold nothing back. Even if someone on the ship had killed a soul beast, it was impossible for her to make a concession. Roar! A deep roar sounded. Shortly after, another thick water column shot forth and headed straight toward Elder Cai. Elder Cai grunted coldly and pointed at the sky with her right hand. A strange phenomenon occurred. The entire sky darkened immediately, and a silver moon materialized out of thin air. The silvery white glow reached down from the sky and collided loudly with that huge water column, releasing a violent and loud roar. The water column collapsed, but the silver moon did not budge from its position in the sky. A terrifying aura that seemed to have originated from the depths of hell burst forth from Elder Cai's body. Even the hearts of the human experts who hung in midair could not help but shudder, let alone the soul beasts in the deep sea. A hyperdolor. The aura emanating from Elder Cai's body was clearly the aura of a hyperdolor. Moreover, she had not even utilized her own battle armor yet. No wonder she had so much confidence just now. Soul rings appeared on Elder Cai's body. 3 purple, 3 black, and 3 red. The 9 soul rings flickered. The originally clear skies began to darken, but the silver moon increased in its brilliance. Elder Cai just hung there. She seemed to have naturally turned into the core of the heavens and earth. When the members of the Star Luo Continent Diplomatic Corps saw this scene, they could not help but feel fear run down their spine. Was this the strength of an expert from the Doluo Continent's Shrek Academy? Shrek Academy was truly the gathering place of the greatest experts on the continents. The Deep-Sea Devil Whale King and the Devil Soul Great White Shark King seemed to have been silenced by Elder Cai's display of strength. However, in the next moment, the purple-colored ocean slowly turned a darker shade. In the middle of the ocean, whirlpools formed and quickly gathered together. They rolled toward the two ships. Faced with Elder Cai's threats, these powerful oceanic soul beasts chose to fight. Elder Cai's gaze focused. With a single stride into the air, she had already appeared above the Deep-Sea Devil Whale King and the Devil Soul Great White Shark King. Under the illumination of the silver moon, glittering and translucent light spots appeared on her body. The other 4 experts were also of the rank of Title Dolor or Rank 3 Battle Armor Master. They released their respective battle armors. Elder CAI's battle armor was absolutely breathtaking. Rays of dazzling silver light arced outward from her body. They turned into circles of silvery light arcs and merged silently with her body. Her battle armor did not seem to be thick or heavy. Every piece was full of surprisingly beautiful patterns. A pair of titanic silver wings spread open behind her. When a silver headband that resembled a royal tiara dropped down, Elder CAI suddenly showed an amazing change. Her head of originally silver hair slowly turned green. Her wrinkled face regained its former tautness, and instantly, she had transformed into a lady of incomparable beauty. Her full set of silver battle armor was set nicely against her body, emanating a sense of perfection. Her armor-clad right hand held a staff, on top of which there was a silver disc engraved with magnificent patterns. The staff and the silver moon in the sky complemented each other. Silver striations were shimmering with a translucent radiance on the magnificent silver battle armor. The entire sea seemed to have sunken under the irresistible force produced when her armor appeared. Mu Yi's eyes glowed ever so slightly as he heaved a sigh softly. The 3-word battle armor. This is Shrek's 3-word battle armor. It is most certainly unique. Tang Wulin took a glance at his teacher in confusion. This was the first time he had ever witnessed Elder CAI's power. Elder CAI once targeted them, so they understood that she was formidable, but this was still the first time they had ever seen Elder CAI unleash her full power. That terrifying and overbearing aura. The entire sea seemed to be enthralled by her. Her awesome valiance was enough to instill fear in the ocean. A hyper-Dolor with the addition of 3-word battle armor meant this was someone who had achieved the level of a limit Dolor. A 7-ringed soul sage with 2-word battle armor had already achieved an ordinary Dolor's level, while an 8-ringed soul Dolor with 3-word battle armor could even achieve the level of a rank 95 hyper-Dolor. However, once one had become a hyper-Dolor, it was extremely difficult to reach new ranks at the same rate as before. A title Dolor with 3-word battle armor was only capable of reaching an equal footing with a rank 96 hyper-Dolor. As a hyper-Dolor with 3-word battle armor, Elder CAI was strong enough to equal a rank 98 hyper-Dolor at the moment. She was already close to becoming a rank 99 limit Dolor. Once her battle armor was elevated to 4-word, she would be capable of possessing powers at the highest level in the world. This was Elder CAI's inner secret. Let alone facing 2 10,000-year soul beasts, with her power that was equal to a rank 98 hyper-Dolor right now, she was capable of fighting a great beast with an even higher cultivation base. Which one of the Sea Gods Pavilion members in Shrek Academy was not a being at its pinnacle? I am giving all of you another chance to retreat now. Elder CAI shouted in a low tone. Leave her to me. Just then a peculiar voice echoed in the deep sea. Soon after, a figure suddenly soared into the sky in the distance. The sky in the distance suddenly turned a bright blue the moment he was airborne. To everyone's amazement, the sea erupted and engulfed the sky. Looking from the 2 ships, it felt as if the entire world was completely covered. Seeing this, Elder CAI's expression changed for the very first time, and her gaze became stiff. Purple light shimmered in Tang Wulin's eyes. With great effort, he relied on the purple demon eyes to see the human figure in the distance with great effort. Surprisingly, the creature was humanoid. However, only his upper body resembled a man, while his lower body was made of 12 octopus-like tentacles. He was suspended in midair as his aura blew forth rapidly and pushed toward Elder CAI's side. The Great Beast. The word slipped from Mu Yi's mouth. His face was filled with astonishment. The so-called Great Beast was a hyper-soul beast with a cultivation base that exceeded 20,000 years. There were once 10 Great Beasts on the Dolor continent. The 10 Great Beasts stood tall on the continent thousands of years ago. Some of the beasts submitted to the command of a mighty warrior known as the Spirit Ice Dolor Huiyuhao, who once conquered the world brutally, while others were killed by him. The rest of the Great Beasts vanished without a trace afterward. The greatest among them was the golden-eyed Black Dragon King. It was known as the Beast God, with a cultivation base as high as 800,000 years, and it was reputed to be the strongest of all at that time. According to the legend, the spirit Ice Dolor once launched a great battle with this beast god Golden-Eyed Black Dragon King before he became a god. He won the battle in the end, and the beast god went into hiding. No one knew if it was alive or dead. Meanwhile, the spirit Ice Dolor ascended into the god world. The sea's area was far larger than the land, so naturally, it was possible for great beasts to appear here. With a great beast and two 10,000-year-old beasts, they were finally equipped with the power to threaten the fleet. The figure that soared into the sky transformed rapidly. Its body started expanding against the seawater behind its back. It only took a short while before it had transformed into an enormous octopus over 1,000 meters in diameter. The sea became violent under the control of its tentacles, such that even Elder CAI suppression was unable to match with it. Roar! The deep-sea devil whale king gave out a furious roar. All the oceanic soul beasts immediately swarmed toward the two ocean liners. The attack had begun. Elder CAI's figure flashed as she transformed into a stream of moonlight. She raised her staff high as the silver moon that was suspended in midair fired a huge beam of moonlight. It was reflected onto the silver plate on the tip of the staff and rapidly formed into a fine needle-like silver light. It shot toward the enormous octopus in the distance. The colossal octopus waved its 8 tentacles as countless speckles of violet light floated into the air and formed into a layers blocking Elder CAI's attack. As the two powerhouses from both parties clashed, the two ships' offensive and defensive maneuvers had already begun on the other side. With deep roaring sounds, soul cannonballs shot out from the muzzles that had opened on the sides of the ships. These soul cannons were powered by the soul battery array that was filled with energy. It could even be launched directly through a soul master's soul power when necessary. Every soul cannon's attacking power was impressive. The strongest soul cannon could even be as damaging as a title Dolor. For a while, the sea was blasted such that it continuously echoed with the sound of explosions, while the oceanic soul beast's attacks fell against the ship's protective shield and exploded into piercing rings. Fortunately, the two parties' diplomatic corps had been equipped with strong defenses and adequate soul energy for the safety of the trip. With great effort, they could still defend themselves against the encircling oceanic soul beasts, at least for the moment. The 4 masters in the air, each of whom owned at least 3 work battle armor, were divided into 2 groups. Each group blocked the deep-sea devil whale king and the devil soul great white shark king respectively. This was the limit of their abilities, as the sea was still the oceanic soul beast's territory. In short while, it was already chaos. Tang Wulin nudged Mu Yi, who was standing by his side. "Teacher, you." Mu Yi acted as if he had nothing to do with this. He just stood there and watched the battle outside with no intention to participate at all. Wu Zhongkong squinted his eyes as he took one deep look at Mu Yi. His figure flashed once and he had already arrived in the midair. Speckles of white light glowed as the sky ice battle armor emerged and quickly covered his body. The sky frost sword appeared out of thin air. He was like a meteor as he dashed out of the ship's protective shield and into the sky. Wu Zhongkong was already a 7-ringed soul sage, and he was close to possessing the power of a title Dolor with the addition of his 2-word battle armor. Moreover, he was Wu Zhongkong. A devil soul great white shark discovered him in the sea. The silver light on its back fin shimmered as a streak of light flew toward him at full force. The silver glow was akin to the sharp edge of a knife. It arrived before Wu Zhongkong at lightning speed. The Skyfrost sword cut through it as a faint streak of shadow appeared out of thin air. Needles of fine frost overlapped and tore apart the silver light with ease. Soon after, Wu Zhongkong's entire battle armor glowed brightly with silver light. He descended from the sky and pounced directly into the sea. The soul rings on his body shimmered alternately as his 7th soul ring suddenly burst into light. A peculiar scene emerged. The Skyfrost sword suddenly enlarged as Wu Zhongkong fused with the sword. A gush of sword's consciousness burst out. The colossal Skyfrost sword over 10 meters long descended from the sky. It was his 7th soul skill, the martial soul avatar. The Skyfrost sword was not aiming at any oceanic soul beast, but it dove directly into the sea before disappearing. What's Teacher Wu doing? Tang Wulin and the rest were filled with confusion. At the next moment, they widened their eyes in amazement. The sea started freezing from the point that Wu Zhongkong had entered the water. Countless strands of frosty air soared into the sky as firm ice started spreading rapidly in all directions. The oceanic soul beasts were frozen rapidly in the ice. The solid ice spread at an incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, it had already spread out hundreds of meters. A great number of the oceanic soul beasts were frozen, taking off some of the pressure from the battle immediately. Mu Yi's gaze moved ever so slightly. He's using his martial soul avatar to freeze the sea and exercise complete control. At least 20 oceanic soul beasts with cultivation bases of over 10,000 years are sealed within the ice. But why didn't he just kill them straight? Raw? The ship shook violently just then. The outer protective shield was already weakening. The oceanic soul beasts came in overwhelming numbers, and the two oceanic liners were mainly meant for long voyages and not for battle. Even though mechas were shooting one after another into the sky from the ships right now, the oceanic soul beast still had the upper hand. Once the protective shield was shattered, the ships themselves would be under attack. If the ship's hulls took significant damage, it would possibly be a death sentence for all the passengers. Attention every soul master, attention every soul master. We're under attack by oceanic soul beasts. Requesting fellow soul masters to join the battle immediately and protect our ship. Please join the battle immediately to prevent damage to the ship's hull from the oceanic soul beast's attack. Tang Wulin glanced at Mu Yi. Mu Yi smiled. Join if you want to. An opportunity as good as this is very rare. Tang Wulin looked toward his companions and spoke softly, "Follow me." He stepped forward as he spoke. He leaped up, put his right foot on the balcony's railing and thrust himself into the air, flying out the ship. A blue-silver grass vine wound anticlockwise around the railing. He descended from above and dropped toward the frozen surface Wu Zhongkong created. Gu was the second one to take the leap. As she jumped, a circle of green soul rings bloomed and dropped onto her companions to assist them by reducing their body weight. She stepped onto Tang Wulin's blue-silver grass and used it to slide down. Soon after, Yi Xinglan, Yuan and Yehue, and Xie Xie followed behind. Only Shu Lishi remained, looking ghastly pale. I am afraid of heights. Mu Yi smiled gently. You'll get used to it after a few tries. Before Shu Lishi could react to the situation, Mu Yi had already grabbed the fat little boy and tossed him out. Wulin, catch him. There was a 60 to 70 meter drop from the balcony to the surface of the sea. Shu Lishi was bawling loudly, having been suddenly thrown into free fall. Tang Wulin had just reached the ice floor at that moment. He turned around and realized that Shu Lishi was falling from the sky. Blue-silver grass vines rapidly spread out. His blue-silver grass was manifesting with the thickness of an arm. The grass formed a large net in the sky and Shu Lishi dropped down from above into it. After he bounced once the momentum had dissipated. Before his martial soul's second awakening, it would be quite problematic for his blue-silver grass to endure such powerful velocity. But it was different now. After the blue-silver grass evolved into the blue-silver emperor, its synchronization with Tang Wulin was vastly elevated. Now Tang Wulin's strength could be directly transmitted into the blue-silver grass. Be careful, everyone. Blue-silver grass vines emerged and wound around the waists of his companions individually. The six of them stayed together as they ran in the direction of the ice's edge. Gu's eyes flashed as her elemental staff appeared out of thin air. Her staff waved to conjure up balls of blue flame, sending them surging skyward and shielding the ships from the oceanic soul beast's attacks. Even Tang Wulin could not tell how far her spiritual power had advanced. It was as if those fireballs had eyes as they continuously bloomed. Wait for us. A voice echoed in the sky. They watched as Yu Jingyu spread his wings and he carried Xu Xiaoyan down from the other side of the ship. Yu Jingyu's arms were wrapped around Xu Xiaoyan's waist. Xu Xiaoyan's charming face was clearly blushing scarlet. The both of them touched the ground and joined their companions. Tang Wulin took a glance at them as the corner of his lips cracked into a smile. There's no need for us to attack the oceanic soul beasts ourselves. We only need to stop their attacks. The oceanic soul beasts will still be exhausting their soul power continuously in order to launch their soul skills. We'll use our own soul power and try our best to stop them from attacking the ships. Okay, the crowd answered in unison. They could launch their attacks more easily with the solid ice surface beneath their feet. However, given their own cultivation base, it would be suicide if they were to battle the oceanic soul beasts in the sea. At least 100 of the oceanic soul beasts that encircled the two ships possessed a 10,000-year cultivation base. A portion of them was frozen by Wu Zhongkong, but there was still a large number of heavy hitters. They were not afraid to face one 10,000-year ranking soul beast, but they would undoubtedly perish if they were surrounded in the middle of the sea. Captain, protect me until I reach the edge. I'll be casting my spell there, Xu Xiaoyan suddenly said to Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin's heart jerked once, and he understood what was she about to do. He was about to respond when Yu Jingyu, who was by her side, spoke up. I'll get you there safely. The wings behind his back spread out as the Saint Sword appeared from thin air, and he ran toward the edge of the ice. Xu Xiaoyan followed behind him. Tang Wulin raised his hand once. Two vines wrapped around their waists in order to back them up whenever necessary. In the meantime, Ji Yu relied on her elemental staff to launch attacks on the sky, while Yuan and Yehui relied on her air cannon. With great effort, Yixinglang cut out streaks of sword slashes in the sky to stop the attacks that were closer to the surface of the sea. Xie was at an idle end, on guard by his companion's sides. Close-range combat was not as effective as long-range attacks in the kind of battle they were fighting. At the same time, while Xie was feeling frustrated, he looked toward Tang Wulin's direction. Tang Wulin was similarly unskilled in long-range attacks as well. However, he was staring in bewilderment at the scene that followed. A black radiance flashed once as Tang Wulin launched his fourth soul ring. Due to the pressure from a large number of oceanic soul beasts earlier, they did not notice that Tang Wulin's soul rings now numbered at 4. There was an ethereal shadow that faintly appeared on top of Tang Wulin's head once his fourth soul ring began to glow. It was the spitting image of the Overlord dragon. Ji Yu, who was standing by his side, looked at the shadow in surprise. Soon after, they noticed that the blue-silver grass released from Tang Wulin's body started growing wildly. The blue-silver grass vines shimmered with a dark golden gloss as the grass turned thicker and longer at full speed. Blue-silver grass vines dozens of meters in length waved through the air and dashed straight into the sky. The grass lashed out at the oceanic soul beast's attacks, much to everyone's surprise. At least hundreds of vines swarmed out of Tang Wulin's body, akin to giant serpents covered in dragon scales and glistening with a dark golden gloss. The grass reached for a projectile from the sea, pulverizing it into nothingness with terrifying strength and a powerful bearing. This was Tang Wulin's Blue-Silver Emperor's fourth soul skill, the Blue-Silver Overlord transformation. This was a general amplification soul skill that was effective on the rest of the 3 soul skills simultaneously. The Blue-Silver Emperor finally revealed its power for the first time. Tang Wulin was feeling as if he had countless tentacles. The blood essence power surging through him poured into these tentacles and waved them around in the air as if they were part of his body. The scales that covered the vines shimmered every time one lashed onto the oceanic soul beast's long-range attack. Not only was it capable of pulverizing the attack, but it would also dissolve a portion of the attack's energy. There were other soul masters who had also jumped off the ship, including the Royal Star Luo Academy's students. They could not help but see what was happening on Tang Wulin's side. They were already staring in bewilderment from earlier as they witnessed the incredible scene taking place before their eyes. Is he even human? What's his martial soul? Why are there so many gigantic dark blue serpents? Can it be the Hydra? His martial soul is not a beast. I think it's a plant-type martial soul, but I can't tell what it is. Perhaps it's the product of plant-type and beast martial soul's nuclear transformation? This is too terrifying. What sort of energy is that? Look, that enormous ball of water is dissolved like nothing. This is an extremely powerful energy. He has 4 soul rings. That 4th soul ring is actually a 10,000-year level 1. Oh dear. There's more. How much soul power will he be consuming to stop this barrage? How can he appear so relaxed? Was Tang Wulin relaxed? He was not that relaxed actually. For a short while, his blue-silver Emperor's blades managed to block a good deal of long-range attacks as they blasted through the sky, but it was also exhausting him tremendously at the same time. However, he was not only relying on his soul power but also his blood essence power. The biggest advantage of the martial soul's second evolution was not that it elevated his cultivation base, but that it completely combined his soul power and blood essence power. In other words, his martial soul possessed the power of the Golden Dragon King bloodline, while the Golden Dragon King bloodline was capable of borrowing his soul power. The two sides complemented one another and finally united. In this way, Tang Wulin's fighting capability could endure for long periods. Moreover, there was also Shulishi constantly stuffing steamed buns into his mouth by his side. One after another large steamed meat bun was constantly stuffed into Tang Wulin's mouth. With this plus the Devil Soul Great White Shark's fish oil which he had consumed earlier, the blood essence in Tang Wulin's body at present was extremely exuberant. He could still hold on for a length of time. All the soul masters on the ocean liners had begun to join the battle. Wu Zhangkong's ice floor was extremely important. After all, the soul masters' battle formation would be affected if they were to stand on the ship as they launched their attacks, but they could strike more easily on the ice surface. In addition, the solid ice was absolutely vital in immobilizing the ships. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.